Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. More urban politics. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get real urban with your politics. I want to say big up to all the people who've been subscribing. I appreciate that. If you dig what you're seeing, you know what I'm saying? You like seeing your boy Fizz Ed Music lay out the politics, make it real nice and plain for you. Go to YouTube and subscribe to my page, Fizz Ed Music, Urban Politics. It goes down. You know what I'm saying? But enough of that. I know what you're here for. You're here for the same thing I'm here for. A little politics. So let's go ahead and get into it like a car and drive. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and stop messing around and go ahead and get into some of this good politics. All types of stuff to talk about. Of course, Trump and the GOP, they off the hook. They've lost their ever-loving minds. So we're going to start with them. Trump and the GOP. Trump is still giving farmers money from all those tariff wars that he started with China and stuff like that. Killed some of these guys' business. Some of these guys have been farmers for 3 and 4 and 5 generations. Now they got to find something else for them and their families to do because Trump started a baseless turf war or a tariff war. And he doesn't understand what tariffs are. So that has cost us, the American taxpayer, a lot of money. It's hurt our farmers. So he's still giving them taxpayer money to make up for the losses. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because he killed these people's business, so they deserve that government money. I don't like the fact, though, that he's just giving away taxpayer money. And I hear he's doing it in an effort to assure up some votes for November because he knows a lot of these people, they were Trump supporters. They are Trump supporters. They're upset with him right now because of the tariff war, how that has killed their family business. So he's hoping that maybe he can line their pockets with some cash and that'll give him some votes come November. I think that's pathetic. I think it's a disgusting plan. I hope it doesn't work. It'll probably work with a few people. I don't think it'll work with the majority of them because sure, you're giving me some money right now, but what about my family's lifeblood that I've lost now because you wanted to start a tariff war and you don't really understand tariffs? So there's that. So that's what's going on. That blew me away to find out, though, that he's still giving away taxpayer money in an effort to hope that some of these people, you know, get on board with him or whatever and still want him in November. So there's that. Senator Tom Cotton, he's a Republican, said some stupid stuff. A lot of them say a lot of stupid things, but this was really stupid. There's a 1619 curriculum that they want to put into schools. And this 1619 curriculum would talk about slavery. It would talk about its economic impact on America. We need that. That's good stuff. Tom Cotton, he's against that. He's going to say that, no, we shouldn't teach that. And then this guy's going to actually come out of his mouth and say slavery was a necessary evil. Really? Really? I can't believe that he let that come out of his mouth. A necessary evil? It was not a necessary evil. It was not necessary for lazy Europeans to run all the way to Africa, get some melanated people to pick their cotton, to grow their sugar cane, because that's really when slavery got off the hook, sugar cane, because everybody got a taste of that sugar, couldn't get enough of it, to do that, and then their nation became great. That was not a necessary evil. That was an unnecessary evil that we need to be compensated for, Mr. Cotton. So if you're going to sit there and say slavery was a necessary evil, like D.L. Hughley said, well, then cut me the check. Cut us our check. You know, everyone else that got reparations but black folk. And we just had a congressman sit here and say it was a necessary evil. Okay, so it happened. Okay, so we're acknowledging that America is a great country because of the backs and the blood of slaves. Pay us our money, man. Everybody else that got reparations, when we going to get reparations? We need it. Mr. Cotton has already said here, made a case for it. And the fact that he doesn't want this 1916 or 1619 curriculum taught in schools, that's sad. That is the reason we have racism in this country. That is the reason we have protests going on probably right downtown Columbus right now. Because of this. Because of people like Tom Cotton wanting to hide that painful history. We cannot hide it. We cannot hide it. It needs to be dealt with, okay? And if we do not study our history, we are what? Doomed to repeat it. I'll say it again. If we do not study our history, then we are doomed to repeat it. Years ago, I worked at a Columbus Public High School, and I was sitting with she was a work study coordinator, and she was telling me how she didn't like civil rights teachings in school or whatnot, and I asked her why. And she said, well, me and my daughter and this little black girl were the best of friends until they started talking about civil rights and lunch counters and slavery and all of that stuff. So then they weren't friends anymore. I said, well, number one, whoever taught that class, they didn't do it right. Because all those kids should have left that class understanding that, hey, this is history, this happened. We live now to correct it. These mistakes have been made. We're living now to correct them. Let's not make them again by having division amongst each other. That's number one. Number two, we have to study that. And this woman was a teacher. You know, I mean, she's a teacher. That is her profession. That is her trade. So I told her, you as a teacher, you definitely have to appreciate the fact that if we do not study this painful history, we are doomed to repeat it. And that's what we're doing right now. We're repeating it because we don't study it. A friend of mine from Germany said, when you German and you in high school, they talk about Hitler and the Third Reich and all of that terrible stuff to make sure that it does never happens again in Germany. And that's what you have to do. You have to teach that painful history, man. People have to know what happened so it doesn't happen again. So, Mr. Cotton, you need to wake up to that and give us our reparations. You went ahead and admitted there that this country rose to greatness on the backs and the blood of slaves. Pay those people. Pay the descendants of those people. People who look like me. Give us some money because we definitely earned it. Moving on. There's that. Let's talk about Mitch McConnell. If you watch this show, you know my pet word for him. It rhymes with Mitch, but this is a family show, so I'll leave that alone. Mitch McConnell says the new stimulus bill is going to take some time. Him and other Republicans, they sitting on their hands, got their thumbs up their butt. While a lot of people out here are hurt. The $600 extra unemployment benefit, that's due to run out at the end of this month. They said there's going to be I think they said 40 million Americans evicted come August 1st. These guys go ahead and take a break and go home for the weekend. Really? We got 40 million Americans poised to be evicted. We got unemployment benefits running out. These guys go ahead and take a recess and go ahead and take a weekend break at the crib. Must be nice, Republicans. I tell you, they have just messed this whole thing up. They have floundered. They're just it's just terrible. So they're upset about Americans getting that extra $600 in unemployment benefits. Really? You're upset about that, but you're not upset about some of these businesses, some of these multi-million-dollar businesses getting this PPE money, this Paycheck Protection Plan, or was it PPP money? Paycheck Protection Plan. I think that's what it was called. But I want to tell everybody, these Republicans, they're not upset about people like Steak and Shake and other places, or Shake Shack. I think that's who it was. Shake Shack got some of that money. That's a $10 million business. That money wasn't for them. It was for small mom and pop businesses. But they got it. Now, they gave it back. I talked about that on the show. There's tons of businesses were not giving it back. That was by grand design. That's not an accident. And that's why you don't see Republicans coming out railing against that. That happened the way it was supposed to. They knew that was coming down the pipeline. Some of them probably tipped off some of their big business buddies, and they made sure to get in on it and get it quickly before some of these mom and pops could get it. So that's why they're not upset about it. That happened just the way it was supposed to happen. Some of their rich buddies who own these multi-million-dollar businesses who really didn't need it, got it. They bet on that. That's why I say I'm sitting here. I don't know 100%. I couldn't point at something that I know happened. But I'm telling you, I'm not no fool. I know how human beings are. I know how big business works. And I'm sure some of them were tipped off and they knew to go ahead and get at that money, and they got at it before it ran out. And a lot of mom and pops that should have got it didn't get it. That's how that was supposed to happen. They planned that like that. So that's why they're not upset about it or railing against it. That was by grand design. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these businesses, they're just not coming back. I read an article that said some of these small mom and pop businesses, they're done forever. They're never coming back. You got to think, if you got a restaurant or a bar or any of that type stuff, and you go a month, 2 months, 3 months without serving anybody, without really getting any good business in, you're done. How can you have a business anymore? You done went 2-3 months without getting any money at all in your business, you're done. So unless you're like at Applebee's or some huge chain that can stay afloat several months without taking any income in these particular different spots, you're not going to be around. So a lot of those businesses are just gone, and that is what it is. That's another side effect of this COVID thing, killing a lot of businesses that you and I like to, used to like to patronize. Those are going now. So, it is what it is. It's sad because they were saying right here in Columbus, Ohio, they turned our convention center into an evictions court. So how bad is that? You know what I'm saying? So they got an eviction court downtown. Obviously, that's overflowed. So now they're doing evictions out of our convention center. And that's a huge, big open area. It saddens me they had to move it. It saddens me that they moved it to a huge area, which lets us know there are a whole lot of evictions. The moratorium on evictions and rentals, it ran out at the end of this month. So like I said, we got 40 million Americans poised to be kicked out of their homes, kicked out of their apartments, government sitting on its hands, Republicans doing nothing about it. Moving on, why is the GOP so against mail-in voting or absentee ballots? Well, let me tell anybody out there, and walk with me on this. Mail-in voting and absentee ballots, same thing. That's been my favorite way to vote for the last probably 10, 15 years. I like to vote at the house with a cup of coffee in my hand while I'm watching the news in my boxer shorts with a robe on. You can voir dire the candidates, pick out who you want to, seal it up in a nice envelope, and you mail it right back to the BOE. You know, but absentee ballot and mail-in ballots, same thing. Somebody needs to tell the president he's not a smart guy. So of course he puts that caveat in his tweet. Mail-in ballots, not absentee ballots, because that's fine. I'm fine with absentee. Absentee and mail-in ballots are the same thing, and I fear there's people out there who don't get that. So let me break it down to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is not hard. This is not a hard concept to grapple with. Absentee ballot, you're absent. You're not there. That's why it's called absentee ballot. You're not there. If you're not there, how else could you get your vote there but to mail it in? Ergo, mail-in ballots and absentee ballots are the same thing. So there's that. For those who did not know, for those who do not know. But the president, he does little stuff like that because he's a moron, but he's talking to other morons. So when he says moronic things like that, a piece of me is like, he knows better, but he knows that he's talking to people who don't know better. But then a piece of me needs to be like, yeah, this guy might not really know better because he's not a smart dude at all. So there's that. It's the same two things. Mail-in ballots, they said there's been, you know, they've done plenty of research on it. There's never been any fraud with mail-in ballots. There are some states that only vote through mail-in ballots for whatever reason. So that's been going on for years. It's been a great thing for years. The president is poo-pooing it. Why is that? Probably because a lot of people are going to want to mail in their ballots. You know, with Corona going on and all this other stuff going on. Why do you want to stand in line for hours? Because they were saying that too. A lot of our polling places are being closed. There's problems with polling because a lot of poll workers are usually older individuals. A lot of those individuals are not going to do it this year because of COVID. You know, they're afraid of coming in contact with that many different people. So a lot of them are not going to be there. That's another thing that's going to make voting kind of hard and slower. So a lot of people are going to opt to do mail-in, which I agree. That's what I'll do. Like I said, I do it every year. It's my favorite way to vote. Do that. The GOP is scared of that, though, because if you get people voting in or mailing in their ballot, that's an easier way to vote. That way, you accidentally might get more people voting. Barack Obama even said that. He said, when more people vote, we win. Now, he was talking about Democrats. I don't consider myself a Democrat. I'm an independent. But that is true. If more of the electorate votes, the liberal argument usually wins. Democratic argument usually wins. And if you have a whole lot of people voting absentee or a whole lot of people mailing in their ballot, the Republicans are poised to lose. And they know that. Trump knows that. He knows that. The writing's on the wall anyway. I mean, even other people in the GOP can see that it's looking like he's probably not going to win this thing. Now, I don't like to say that because I don't want to say that. And there's some of you out there figure, why vote? Let me rest on my laurels. He's got this thing. Biden's got this thing. We're going to get that demon out of office. Don't you ever feel like that. Go out there and you vote. You vote like your little heart depends on it. You vote like your life depends on it, because it does. We got to get this demon beast out of office. How do we do that? We do that through voting. So I don't want anybody sitting back thinking it's all good and they ain't got to vote. No, you got to vote. But like I said, the writing's on the wall. Even the Republican Party is kind of, figuring out other things they're going to do and getting ready for a world where Trump is not the president. So there's that. But that's why they're afraid of absentee ballot. They said that back in the day, absentee ballots, though, usually help Republicans. Because a lot of these older people who are going to vote more conservatively or with the GOP, they can't necessarily get out to a poll because they're older. They're at home or whatever. They're sick or in bed or whatever they got going on. It's easier for them to vote absentee. That usually helps the Republican Party. So I guess a lot of Republicans have secretly been saying, why is Trump tripping? Why is he coming out against absentee ballot when that usually helps our side? But once again, this is not a smart man. Trump knows nothing about politics. As Joe Scarborough always says, he's a day trader. This guy's a day trader. He wake up in the morning and what it is what it is. He ain't did no research on nothing, taking everything at face value. So, yeah, that's what you get when you get a president who just is flying by the seat of his pants. You know what I'm saying? This is amateur night. It's amateur night at the Apollo over there at at the White House with our president. So that's what's going on with that. Moving on, Vladimir Putin put bounties on U.S. soldiers' heads. Yeah, put money on U.S. soldiers' heads. Our intelligence confirmed it. They said that Trump has known this since like February. 6 different times he's talked to Vladimir Putin. He has said nothing. Nothing. Hasn't brought it up. Won't talk to the man about it. Now, we all know he's afraid of Vladimir Putin because Vladimir Putin is a real-life street thug. He's what Trump wishes he was. Vladimir Putin, comes from the streets, comes from nothing. So the fact that he rose to the power where he's at, been able to hurt people, strong-arm people, kill people to get what he wants, and got all the power he has, that's actually remarkable for him. Because like I said, he comes from the streets. He comes from the hood. He's a street thug. If you don't believe me, check out his history, man. I remember them talking about that on the news and stuff. They were saying that Vladimir Putin, where he comes from in Russia, is like a whore. He comes from the hood of Russia. He came up from nothing. He's a horrible person. He kills people. He takes what he wants. He's a thug. He's a murderer. But like I said, he really does have a rags to riches story. So Trump wants to be that guy. He's not that guy, though. Trump is a spoiled rich kid who got a bunch of money from his father that he screwed up his whole life. He's not Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is a guy who's literally had to get, like drug dealers or got it out the mud. Vladimir Putin got it out the mud. Trump is not that dude. I'm not doing any of this or saying any of this to put any accolades or any respect or good on Vladimir Putin's name. He's a horrible person, despicable person. But my point is, the reason Trump wants to be like him is because he has pieces that have made him the man he is that Trump just does not have. And that piece is that poverty piece. Trump ain't never been in poverty. This guy has lived pure poverty. So he knows what that's about. So that makes it kind of worse because when Vladimir Putin gets some power, he ain't letting go of that. Because he already knows what it's like to have nothing. He's not trying to go from something to nothing. He's already done the nothing. He'd rather do the something. So there's that. So Trump won't say anything to him about these soldiers who's, he didn't put money on their head or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Our intelligence community comes to Trump about it. He gonna say that he doesn't necessarily believe our intelligence community. Where have you heard that before? He never believes our intelligence community. Whenever they tell him something he don't want to hear, he don't believe it. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? He's talked to Vladimir Putin like 6 different times on the phone about this, about that, whatever. And neglected to bring this up. You talked to the guy 6 times. You neglected to bring up how, there are some American soldiers, some young people who we heard that you put bounties on their head and offered money to the Taliban to kill them, and you said you'd pay for their murders. Is that true? Is that what's going on? Come on. I understand, Trump, that you all love Vladimir's butt, and you want to be like him. You want Russia to be America. You like the fact that he's got a stronghold on Russia. There's no checks and balances over there on Russia. You like the fact that Russia does not like people of color. That Russia's whole thing is getting rid of people of color and getting back to a totally Aryan society. Whatever. But how about this? Still, why don't you pretend to do your job? Why don't you pretend to be the American president and ask this idiot, when you get news like that from your intelligence community, hey man, for real, man, not for nothing. Are you putting bounties on my soldier's head? You got young soldiers and stuff or whatever. You trying to get murked by the Taliban, bro? Bring that up, Trump. Pretend to do your job, But he ain't doing that. 6 times he's talked to the man. He ain't brought it up. He ain't gonna bring it up because real life, he don't care. He don't care. He does not care about our military. He doesn't care about anything but looking good to Mr. Putin. Because I think when all of this is done, he's going to gather together whatever little bit of whatever he's got. And he's probably going to move to Russia. And that's going to be his new home. Because like I told you, Russia, they don't like people of color. They want to bring back kind of this Aryan personhood or whatever, all this stuff they talk about in Russia. So he's going to end up going to Russia and kicking it with them. So that's going to be his home. So he's not going to call Vladimir Putin on any of this. So we can hang that up. And that's really a sad state. I never thought that we'd have an American president who is okay with the Russian premier, I think that's his title, putting bounties on American soldiers' heads. I never would have thought that, because it's interesting how Ronald Reagan, I mean, he's got to be turning over in his grave right now. We had all those years of being against Russia just for Trump to rise to power and be up Russia's butt. That's got to be just kicking Mr. Reagan in the head right now. Like, really? How's that going on? And under his party. If Ronald Reagan could see the Republican Party right now, he'd pass out and die anyway. So, moving on. Let's talk about something the feds actually got right. The feds finally withdrew from Portland. Finally. Everybody was in agreement that their presence was just making things worse and that they needed to leave. The mayor had been asking them to leave Portland. Finally, they've left. Finally, like this last Thursday, they was out. Although the Department of Homeland Security said that they would stay until they were positive that the courthouse was secure. There was this courthouse there that they were protecting, federal property or whatever. So they want to make sure that that federal property is secure before they leave. They're not worried about the lives. They're not worried about the grievances of the people. Nah, all we're worried about is our precious government property and making sure that nobody spray paints or breaks any windows. That's pathetic. And that's always the rights come back, ain't it? Destruction of property. Who cares about destruction of property, man? We're talking about destruction of lives, okay? We're talking about racism. We're talking about huge things that need to be dealt with in this country. The fact that somebody spray painted a wall or broke a window, who cares? And if it draws a light to injustice in this country, if it draws a light to people who are unjustly persecuted, brown and black bodies that pile up on the streets, if it draws a light to that, then I ain't tripping off about no vandalism. You know what I'm saying? Who cares about vandalism? That window can be replaced. That wall can be sandblasted. But these people's lives, George Floyd, he's not coming back. So let's go ahead and deal with that. So you people out there protesting, I stand with you. Power to the people. Power to the people. Moving on. Moving on. Let's talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden and his vice presidential picks. There's a lot of women who are on that short list. Let's just start with Kamala Harris. People are talking about it's probably going to be Kamala, whatever you want to call her. People are saying that she can't be trusted. What? Had the audacity to say Kamala couldn't be trusted because of her remarks that she made at the debates that they had, where they were all seeking the nomination, and she made that comment about busing, and then she had talked about how I was that little girl, you know, that stance you took on busing, Mr. Biden, it affected me. That was a great moment, and that was a piece of A1 politicism right there. That was some great political athleticism from Miss Harris right there. When you call yourself trying to win that top spot, you're trying to secure the executive office, you gotta go hard. And she went hard. That comment was good, it was tasty, it was provocative, it got her the headline she wanted to get. She won that election with that comment. It's ancient history though. Even back then, if you watch this show, I've been telling you, Biden was gonna get the nomination. He's a moderate, he's an old, white, male moderate. That's what they want. In Barack Obama, they had a black moderate, but with Joe Biden, they're getting an older, white, moderate, male. That's what they wanted. That's what the DNC wanted. That's what they got. I told people that's what they was gonna get. But she made a great run at that. What she did was really good. That's what you did when you call. That's what you do when you call yourself trying to win an election. You trying to secure the executive position. You do what she did. That was great. Did it work? No, but it was still good for the night. She won the debate for that moment, but people won't say that makes her, she's too ambitious. She can't be trusted. That's garbage. And nobody would be saying that if she was a dude. If Kamala Harris was a guy, nobody would say that. If she was a man, people would have just saw that as what I just called it. It was some good political athleticism. it was just smart. It was a smart political move for the moment, and it won her that debate. Those are the things you're trying to do when you call yourself trying to secure the executive. She was playing to win. The woman was playing to win, and she won the debate that night. I don't think that means that she's untrustworthy. I don't think that means she's too ambitious. I think that just means she's got a brain in her head and she was trying to win that thing. Like I said, if she wasn't a woman, she wouldn't even be getting that. If she wasn't a woman, nobody would come out their mouth and say, oh, Kamala Harris, she's too ambitious. Only a woman can be too ambitious. You never hear that. I'll never hear a man get that criticism. He's too ambitious. He wants too much out of life. You never gonna hear that about a man. Only a woman. How dare she want to be president and work so hard to become president? Come on, man. That's what that is. So get that out of there. If he picks her, she'd be a great pick. People's talking about another thing about Kamala Harris. Her and Cory Booker have been pushing for the guaranteed government income. They've been pushing for some version of that, like $1,000 a month to every American over 18, maybe $500 a month to kids under 18 living in the home, taxpayers, stuff like that. And they saying this is something that should just be, basically another program like Social Security or whatever. I agree with that. We need that. So if we got Kamala Harris as a VP pick, you'll see her pushing that. Because like I said, she's already got legislation that's in Congress right now with Cory Booker, where they both have signed on saying that Americans need something like that, some kind of guaranteed government income. That would be huge. What would that do for you? I know what it would do for me. You know what I'm saying? So we get her as a vice president. We'll see that in there. That would be nice. Some of these other sisters on this short list, Stacey Abrams, Val Demings, Karen Bass, are all amazing. I don't want to hear any crap about experience or gravitas. Get that garbage out of here. First of all, the only time people want to talk about experience and gravitas is when it's a candidate of color. You didn't hear any of this when it came to talking about Trump because he didn't have any experience. He don't have any gravitas. He ain't got none of that. None of that. And I don't want to hear, oh, he's a great businessman. He's ran businesses. He's ran businesses that have went belly up, and now America's going belly up because we put a bad businessman in control of America's business. So I don't want to hear that crap anymore about gravitas or experience or get that out. And I hate to be like that. Like I said, it's a family show, so I don't want to even make those type of gestures here. But my point is that's how silly I think that is. The people come to me talking about experience. Have you seen the guys running things now? And you come to me talking about experience. Wasn't that the thing last time? People went around and said, we don't want anybody with experience. We don't want any career politicians. Well, we've seen where that got us. Okay? Kamala Harris, she's got experience. Stacey Abrams, she's got experience. That woman's ready for prime time. She should have won her race, but the Republican she ran it against stole it from her. You can go ahead and check out the research on that. Val Demings, that sister's extremely qualified. Karen Bass, she is a senator right now. Is she a senator in the House? I think she might be in the House or the Senate. One of them. She's in government right now. So please don't tell me how Miss Bass is not qualified. She is extremely qualified. All of these women are qualified. They're poised. They're beautiful. They're attractive. They have the gravitas. They're ready for prime time. Joe, what you gonna do? If you gonna go with Kamala, let's go with Kamala and get this thing cracking. My whole thing was with Mr. Biden. For a while there, and I talked about it on this show, I was like, okay, he needs to go ahead and pick a running mate, a vice president who's gonna be a woman. I'd like her to be a woman of color. Then I kind of fell back off of that. Man, just a woman would be nice. Maybe not even necessarily a woman of color. Now I'm back on that. She needs to be a woman of color. She needs to be a woman of color. Now, a friend of mine, he gonna say, well, we shouldn't let ideology and things like that cloud our judgment and cloud who you'd want to be his vice president pick. Screw that. Screw that. Like I said, all of these women have the gravitas. All of them have the experience. They're all ready for prime time. Any of them are good picks. Go on and make the pick. I don't want to hear any of that crap anymore because the guy that we have right now is a buffoon. He's a dullard. He's a moron. He's an idiot. Okay? But y'all couldn't wait to make him our president because y'all claimed he was a good businessman. All right, so good businessman. How? When he done messed up $200 million of his papa's money. But he's a good businessman. Get that out of here. I don't want to hear that anymore. Like I said, all these sisters is ready for prime time. Let's do it. It looks like it's going to be Kamala. If it's Kamala, let's go ahead. Let's go forth with Kamala and get it cracking. Last but not least, 78% of Americans think we're on the wrong track. Who are these 20-some% of Americans who think we're on the right track? For real? That's all I thought of when I saw that. 78% of Americans think we're on the wrong track. Who thinks we're on the right track? We're obviously on the wrong track. That's why things look good for us to change this thing November 3rd. People go out there, if they vote their hearts, you know, if people are honest about the way they feel, the way they felt in their souls and their spirits, the way they feel about this country, we could change things just with a vote. Now, I'm not saying Biden is the answer to everything. I'm looking at my time too. It's over, man. 30 minutes, we're done. But before I leave, let me just leave you with this. I'm not saying that Biden is the answer to all our prayers. I'm not saying that. And I'm not necessarily super enthused to vote for him anyway. And I went on record this show and saying I like Joe Biden. I do. He's a master of the dramatic pause. You know, I really love his political athleticism. He's a politician I've liked watching for years. He served under Barack Obama for 8 years. Those were great 8 years. He did good things with him. So there's that. He's definitely the lesser of two evils, so I'm voting for him. And, you know, with that said, that's all I'd say is it's the lesser of two evils. It's a binary choice. We only got two. So between Trump and Biden, I'm going Biden all day. It looks like most people are. Trump is poised to lose this thing. Please, people, do not get complacent or rest on our laurels thinking it's all good. Just like when Barack Obama ran that second election, you know what he said? And his wife were even saying, because I went and saw both of them speak a couple of times when they came here to Columbus, they had said that this election will be won through conversations that you have with your neighbors and with your friends at work. I agree, and I say the same thing with this. Go out there and talk to people, man. Talk to people about how they feeling, how you're feeling. And once again, vote for the lesser of two evils. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, next political cycle around, maybe we do get some people that we can actually get excited about and enthused about and want to put in office who we, you know, 360 degrees can get behind. It is what it is. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Urban Politics. As always, please subscribe. This video will lead you to other videos that I've done. Check out some of those, because like I said, I go on record as saying a bunch of stuff on these shows I've said in past shows, but I try not to rehash. I want to give you the news of the week as it's happened in that week. So please go and subscribe. Once again, Fizz Music, Urban Politics. Thank you for your time. See you around like a donut.